You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. All right, welcome to Cards to the Moon. We are recording episode 19 of our little podcast tonight. My name is Clark, and joining me are my co-hosts, Xiong and John, as always. Now, off the top today, before we get into our hobby headlines segment, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on PWCC. They're back in the news. They are debuting their monthly auction platform this week. So if you guys remember, a couple months ago now, we talked about the huge news back then that eBay accused PWCC of shill bidding to boost the final value of some of their sports card auctions. We won't get into the details again, but you can listen to, I looked this up, episode 12, where we went more in depth on this issue. But long story short, eBay banned PWCC for that reason. And PWCC is one of eBay's biggest clients from their platform, right? So on their platform. So PWCC has maintained their innocence. Just wanted to get that clear. But in the meantime, what they did was they launched their own auction platform on their site. We always wondered, right, if they could be as successful without eBay. And, to be honest, I think it's too early to tell. But here are some early numbers before you guys chime in. PWCC is expecting to close more than 40,000 trading card auctions on their new platform in 1 month. Yeah, that's compared to the max of 35,000 cards they sold on eBay. So more volume on their own platform. On their platform, bidding begins at $10, they say, with $1 bid increments for most cards and up to $1,000 bid increments on cards that get up to $50K. So a wide range of cards. But for high value cards, PWCC has a separate premier auctions platform for cards that start at $25K. And in the premier auctions, which they launched a month ago, PWCC said they sold $3 million of fixed price cards in the first 3 weeks of sales alone. So it looks like they're still making cash. So I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think? Will PWCC succeed? Or do you think eBay will counter and destroy their long-term strategy somehow? Or will Fanatics obliterate everyone?
I think PWCC, it just shows you how actually big they were to kind of sustain that. But I think a lot of collectors out there are looking for alternatives other than eBay to sell because, the prices are pretty expensive with eBay now, and they're not getting any cheaper. So like I said, like we always talk about, as industries pivot, there's going to be someone looking for a better solution. So right now, if the problem is, sellers are pretty upset with eBay based on, let's just say, fees and how much it costs, they're going to look for alternatives. And that's why, companies like MySlabs and they all have their own kind of format too, right? So it's interesting to see. You mentioned, obviously it stays as auction items, right? Correct. And it's also they're eliminating the sniping portion of that. Right. So they're extending bids until it kind of dies and fizzles down essentially. As bids increase to the next high, they'll leave it open for like a couple hours. I think that's what they're saying.
That's correct. Right.
So it's a different style of auction. It's a good way to, I think, maximize the sale and create a true sale instead of that auction ending right then and there. So I think it has its own kind of niche as well. And as people look for alternatives to kind of sell as well, I don't think eBay is going to lose too much steam because I think, eBay's eBay. They have, hundreds of millions of eyes on them anyways already, right? So PWCC has to, bring that uniqueness of value essentially to the end consumer, right? So like I say, I'm always for change. Anytime somebody pushes the buttons of the old and it's forcing, new habits, I'm all for it because that's exactly what's needed.
Right.
Yeah. Before you chime in, I just want to add to your point about the extended bidding that you just mentioned, Hyung, that it's almost like a traditional auction house in that way,
Right.
where it's not a set time where you can snipe like you can on eBay.
Yeah.
But the detail that's kind of interesting there is for the extended bidding, and you got it right. I think I read that's 2 hours beyond the original endpoint of the auction, and I think only people that have previously bid can make another bid.
Right.
Right.
So
It makes
yeah.
sense.
So
Yeah. It's like it's similar to a live auction. That's what they
Exactly,
stated.
exactly.
They're trying to bring it to a digital, the exact same format, right?
Right.
that's correct. Yeah. So John, what do you think?
Yeah. So just to add clarification for some listeners, sniping, if you didn't know, is when you put in a max bid on an eBay auction with like 5 seconds left, and you're basically trying to win off of the max bid, right? Whereas PWCC is trying to remove that by allowing, I guess, when the bidding is about to end, if there are still bidders that want to keep going, if they previously bid, they're still allowed to continue to bid, so that nobody can kind of just come in with like a max bid and win it in the last second. So
Right.
yeah. It's funny there. PWCC is clearly trying to clean up all of the accusations that eBay put on them. They're like they're pre-screening a lot of people. I think even if you're just a regular Joe Schmo, I think you have to provide your phone number and all of that stuff so that they at least know that you're a real person, like who you are, some sort of identity. And I know that they're bigger, they're big baller auctions. I think you have to do credit checks and you got to do a whole bunch of things, right? Like you got to show that you're able to pay through your bank account, like 50 to 100 grand or 200 grand or 1 million or whatnot. They're not going to allow retractions on your bid. So once you bid, like you're in, and you apparently are going to get banned. Your account will get banned if you don't pay, if you win an auction. So they're clearly trying to get rid of a lot of the complaints about bad eBayers that kind of goes around in social media. But I like it. It's on the one hand, they are bringing sort of that true cyber auction experience. So I'm pretty interested. On the other hand, I'll admit I love sniping. So there's a part of me that's like, oh, I don't mind giving it a try, especially if there are some cards that I really, really like. I feel like it'll really bring the true value of the card. So for sellers, I think there's a huge benefit here. You're going to really see like the true market value instead of, people who happen to be sleeping or they missed the auction, and then, in comes a snipe and it sells for lower than it should have or whatever. So I think we will see some true comparables and true comps for certain cards. But at the same time, the selfish side of me is like, ooh, I do love the sniping and I do love finding some good deals. So I don't know. Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting. I'll probably give it a shot.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't mind checking it out. I think it seems like PWCC caters to a certain degree to a different kind of niche, like those high-end cards. A lot of them came from PWCC when they're on eBay,
right?
If you noticed,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And other consigners, right? Like Probe Scene as well has some high-end cards.
Right.
But like since PWCC left the eBay platform or was banned, like I'm not seeing as many super high-end cards as I did before. Just kind of my own observation.
Yeah, no,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Did you? Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think all those high-end buyers will easily just go to PWCC because that's where the market is and that's where they can get the cards that they want. It'll be more interesting to see the lower end cards. PWCC is still trying to play that game. I think eBay's going to dominate. They have already dominated for so long in that area. So maybe it turns out that, PWCC dominates a certain demographic, i.e. the high end buyers and sellers,
Right.
whereas eBay still dominates everyone else, really. So So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think, I think we're all agreeing that there is room for PWCC to continue to exist and to do good business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
Awesome. So that was off the top. It kind of seemed like a hobby headline subject, but let's move on to the real hobby headlines. So with basketball season about to start, I have a feeling that many collectors are going to start playing the base game, and more specifically, the ultra modern base game. We saw it earlier this year when the hobby was going nuts and PSA 10s of Prism basketball base of pretty much any player were super liquid. Luka Doncic, for example, his Prism base PSA 10 was going for nearly 2K, if not just above 2K at the time. And, the base Prism of Luka Doncic isn't super scarce either, right? But we've seen the hobby cool quite a bit since then. I just checked recently, Luka Prism base PSA 10 sold for $750. So that's a significant drop. And that's for Luka. Other base cards of more regular guys are really not worth much anymore. So the question is, do you think the market for ultra modern base cards is going to rebound with the season about to start? Or is the ultra modern base card game essentially dead, other than for a few exceptions? What do you guys think?
It's going to be interesting to see kind of where this goes because of the influx of graded cards. The PSA cards are coming in. But
Sure.
On the flip side, that delay of, okay, nobody's now submitting the base cards because they're not worth it at $150 a pop. Then that means population control actually comes into play, right? So that's where it's going to get interesting, I think. And as with anything, and you said ultra modern, so that's a little different. So as Luka, like a Luka Doncic Prism, gets like older and older, and he becomes better and better, people, I believe people start locking stuff in the safe, or they look at Luka as a long-term investment. And we always ask, how did LeBron's Topps Chrome get that high? It's a base card, right? And
True.
it's based on supply and demand at the end of the day, right? So if we're saying like the ultra modern as in Luis Robert base rookie cards, we're seeing it right now. The Topps Chrome, like, it can't go over $60 because it's just flooding the market constantly, right? So it's going to be interesting to see actually these next few months, because I think those influx, I don't think you're going to see a huge amount of increase. You're going to actually see a huge dip. But other cards that are, population controlled essentially, and then moving forward, these ultra modern cards in 2021, how many LaMelo Prism bases are there going to be now? Now that, grading costs $150, right? So I think it's going to be interesting to see. And it's going to be a matter of time before we could actually make a real assumption. But I think there's still life in it because of the scarcity now moving forward, right? So I think it's going to create kind of like that supply demand as well, because people aren't submitting as much, and it's going to be more based on, like, let's say SGC values now, right? Because you're going to see a lot more of the base cards being graded SGC, and then more of the higher end cards being graded PSA, right? So maybe that was their strategy too, right?
Just to be clear, you mean the scarcity of graded cards because of the PSA? It's not worth it to grade it at PSA because of the current prices.
Right. And when we're talking like ultra modern base cards, like $150 to grade that, there's no chance. At $15 a pop, yeah, you have a chance at making some money, right? So it literally eliminates all the the quick flippers that are trying to just grade the raw base and then turn a profit, right?
Right.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I brought this question up to you guys many times, and it's something that I've been really thinking about. I will admit I'm a bit nervous. Like, I worked in corporate marketing, and Hyung's a marketer too. And the problem is the narrative, right? Like, no one talks about the Topps Chrome LeBron and how many they are, but everyone has talked about the Luka. The Luka Prism has become the poster child, right? So Luka Prism is at 17,000 plus pop. So that number has kind of become like sort of like this benchmark of too many. Like that's too high. For one reason or another, that's become sort of that benchmark. So then you see Zion at 19.5, you see Ja at 17.5, and then going forward, whenever PSA and these grading companies, perhaps lower their pricing, you might see LaMelo at 25,000. You might see, whatever, right? Cade Cunningham, you might see that at 27,000. So I think the narrative is a problem because the narrative will bring in a negative aspect to the marketing of that product, right? So I think on the one hand, I don't remember who said this. I'm going to assume it was Jeff Wilson because I listen to him all the time. But he brought a good, there was a good perspective about Luka. Like you imagine going into, and I probably mentioned it on the pod before, but imagine going to the Dallas Arena and there's 22,000 screaming fans, and you tell everybody, hey, you want an opportunity to buy one of Luka's best rookie cards? I'm sure all 22,000 people are like, heck yeah, sign me up. Where can I buy it, right? And right there, you've got the entire population of that card sold, right? And that's just in Dallas of the people who went to go watch that game. So you have to imagine in all of the world, there are more than 17,000 people that would want that Luka card. But again, here is that narrative that 17,000 is too much, right? And that narrative alone affects the marketing of that card, and it keeps bringing it down. It keeps bringing the Zion Prism down. So I think there's a place for the base game, but me personally, I'm treading cautiously. I think that narrative kind of worries me for the short term. I feel like at some point in the future, maybe it'll get forgotten. But I'm treading lightly. And I think in terms of the base game, quote unquote game, I think in 2020, clearly it was like foolproof. You go out and buy Tatis, Soto, Luka, and you're within a seasonal change, you're flipping it like 3x, 5x. Like it was automatic. But now I think people need to really, by dead, I don't think it's dead. I think it's still going to do great, but you have to bring that expectation down. I think even now when you look at basketball cards, some people who are used to the 2020 pricing is going to be like, hey man, it's preseason. The prices should have gone up. They haven't really gone up, but they actually have, right? If you look at most cards have kind of gone up maybe about 20%, which if you look at any investment, that's a great number. It's not 2020 crazy numbers like 3x, 5xing, but I think people need to start to sort of simmer their expectation of like seasonal changes and spikes and lows and spikes and lows. I think the days of the instant 2x, 3x are gone. And now we're going to, you're probably going to see about 20, 30% increase, 10% increase, 20% drop. And in rare occasions where you hit a home run, you'll see the 2, 3x, 5x, right? So I think the narrative of ultramodern being dead, it has to come with like that. Everyone's kind of have to lower their expectations on these seasonal changes and pricing and all that stuff. And I think it should be fine, but at the same time, I do sort of tread cautiously.
Right. All good points. I mean, for me, I'm just going to say that since I came back to the hobby, 4-5 years ago, I've been wrong about the base game every single time. I always think that it's supply and demand. The prices are going to crash, especially with Luka, and it's come down significantly. But $750 for a PSA 10 isn't spare change. So there's still value in it, and I do believe, like you guys do, probably that it's going to go back up, especially with Luka, expected to perform well throughout his career. That's what a lot of us believe. He's a true stud. But yeah, I think the way that the base game was played when, like you mentioned, John, when everything was popping, I think those days are gone. Right. And but I do like that perspective. Hyung, you mentioned it. I think you could get into that game a little bit with SGC grading because the prices are still affordable. $35 to grade a card for a base card, that seems it could be worth it.
Right.
So, and we've already seen SGC gain in value and gain more market share. So I think it's a possibility. But for PSA, I think the base game will only really apply for studs like Luka, possibly for Zion. And I heard that story before, John, about the 20,000 Dallas Mavs fans. I think it's Gary V. I don't know.
Was it
I
Gary
think
V?
It was Gary.
Yeah,
I could
yeah, I
double
don't
check.
know who it was, but yeah.
But anyway, it was a great point, right? Like 17,000 seems like a lot. Just it seems like a big number on its own, but in context, is it really? You know, I think there are that many people that would love to have a PSA 10 Luka Doncic card, and
Doesn't Gary own like half of them?
I've seen it stack. It's pretty monstrous.
yeah, so less than 17,000 really that's available. But yeah, that being said, I've been wrong about the base game so many times that it won't surprise me to see me wrong about this again. But
Yeah.
It probably does go hand in hand with ripping, though, I would say, because that's where all the bases are, getting eaten up of the newer rookie cards, and then they submit
Right.
it thinking that it's going to be valuable, and then, it's just a chain effect, right? As long as ripping
Sure.
exists, I think the base card game will, kind of exist. It's just, the question is how low will it retract, right? That's basically kind of like what
Right.
we're gonna see, right? And we're seeing a correction essentially, and that's the biggest thing is like we look back and zoom in 5-10 years from now in the macro lens, and we're gonna realize that it was just for a moment maybe, or from the bigger picture it's a totally different story, right? So
Right.
sometimes I think we have to look from the bird's eye view and see, maybe this is a retraction, and you see the correction where there was a COVID spike, and then now all we're seeing is essentially retracting, and then it's still in the bigger picture on a bullish run, right?
You know what I just thought of while you're talking too? Like, we don't know how things are going to play out in the future. And what I mean by that is we talked about the Fanatics deal last week. And
Right.
just imagine that, you could get your cards and someone could break it for you, and someone could store it for you, someone could grade it for you. And if it's done super cheaply, then,
Right.
then the
all
base game
in-house.
is, yeah, then I could see the base game being alive and well at that point, because
Right.
everything's really affordable to flip quickly and for really cheap. So, even that's a possibility, right? Like a new player in the game, making it easy to do all the things we've just mentioned, which cost a lot of money right now. Like
Right.
you said, $150 to grade a card for PSA 10 right now. But, the economics could change in the future with Fanatics saying, we'll grade your cards for $5.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could do that if they wanted to, and just really eat up the business that way. But time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But Hyung, you mentioned like, I agree with the ripping aspect too. Like, you guys, we should tell the listeners, you guys have a lot of PSA cards coming back to you, and a lot of them were base cards, right?
For sure. They're
From rips.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, man, my whole house is filled back here with base cards, and you know how much I like base cards. But it made sense back then, right? Like we're collecting, I rip Bowman a lot, so I have a lot of Jason Dominguez first chromes, just selling for $150, PSA 10s, right? You're pulling these, and you're not really chasing them, you're just pulling them as you go, right? So it made sense when they were $15, and you grade them for $15. You basically aren't calculating how much that Dominguez pull was, right? And then it ends up, selling, and like John said, it was like 6-7x right there. So easy, right? So it's I'm glad that we got grandfathered in with this. We have about 450 slabs here, maybe more. I want to say between 450 and 600 slabs. And
Wow.
this is when it was $15-20 a card, and there's no way that's happening now, right? So that's why it's the economics of things just totally change, right? So it'll be interesting. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on then to our next segment we call On a Budget. So the last time we played this, we did the High Roller Edition, where we had a budget of up to $10K That was fun. But today we're coming
broke.
back down to earth. We're broke, yeah. So we're coming back down to earth a bit, and choosing cards we would invest in now for $100, $500, and $1,000.
Nice.
So who wants to lead off with their $100 selection?
Well, I guess we'll go in order as usual.
Okay.
I with the $100 card for me, this is always tough, right? Because it's like your starting point. I always think where am I gonna start? I just want to 3-4x this card, right? That's kind of like my goal. I would say I'm going with Ja Morant, the Luminance PSA 10. I think you could grab it, probably offline for like $80. I think it has potential to 3-4x within the season, and it's such an awesome card. It's relatively low popped at 3,500, but I know a lot of people really like the image. They don't know the story behind it about him missing the dunk, but that's beyond the point.
Right.
You look back and you just say, this is the type of player Ja was, and you look back and you're going to be like, wow, this is one of his coolest rookie cards. So I'm going Ja Morant, the Luminance from Chronicles, PSA 10. You probably could get it for under 100, probably about 80 to 100 right now.
Yeah, that's still a good. I mean, you've mentioned that one before, and it's good that you mentioned it again because like that's a great card, man. For $100, yeah,
for sure.
I'm down with that. So mine, everybody's appetite I think is different in terms of when they're willing to take risks and how much money. Some people, $100, yeah, you know what? I'll throw $100 on that. Like let's take a little bit of a gamble. Some people might do it at 500, some people at 1,000, some people at 5,000. But I will safely assume the general public, $100 is probably a decent number for somebody to go, you know what? Yeah, I'll throw $100 on that. So at this amount, I mean, you can go safe. You can go pick your Ronaldos and Tatises and base and this and that. But I think going after some kind of like, something that could home run a lot more riskier, could turn into nothing. But I like a home run play here. So I'm going to pick, basketball season is about to start, and picking obviously somebody who you think might break out this year, or somebody who's really been, like beaten down hard in value, and seeing if they can rebound and picking a card. So, for example, I just threw a couple here, but I'm going to, like, for example, Cam Reddish, Optic Hollow goes for around $100-$120, right? You got, I'll pick OG Anunoby, Toronto boy. Like Siakam's going to be injured for the first month, maybe 2 months. I could see OG really kind of coming into the limelight for the first 2 months, and there could be a flip opportunity here, right? His Optic Hollow goes for $100-$120. And then some people have thrown away this idea, but some people are on Lonzo Ball. Like he's a decent one too. His Optic goes for $100-$120. So right around that 100 mark, you can get Optic Hollows of guys that, have been beaten down in value and have a chance to break out or return to form or whatever you want to call it. And I think there's an opportunity here possibly to hit a home run. There's also an opportunity to completely lose your money. But I think at $100, it's kind of like a why not? Like let's throw $100, see if it turns into 300, and go for there. So officially, my pick will be OG Optic Hollow PSA 10. Our boy OG.
Nice. I have a very similar philosophy at the $100 level. This is where you gamble, where you take chances, and I think there's a pattern here every time we play this game from all of us. So you might not be surprised that I'm choosing a baseball prospect and just kind of gambling with the $100 level. And I chose actually Jared Kelenic, 2018 Bowman's Best on-card auto, rookie card, raw, for $80. I've seen it for $80. And Kelenic hasn't had the best year, but he still has the pedigree. I like rookies that kind of come out for half a season and don't perform as well as expected. I mean, how many players do well right off the bat?
Right.
And just, there's very few, right? And I feel like a lot of the ones that have the really top prospect pedigrees, adjust accordingly. So I'm not giving up on Kelenic yet. And with his Bowman's Best on-card auto for $80, you could get that graded cheaply at SGC. And if he does pop, I mean, I could see that 2, 3, 4xing as well.
Right.
If he becomes the integral player on his team as a lot of people expected to when he was called up this year. So that's my $100 pick.
Right.
All right, 500.
Going up the big bills, 500. Johnny, you might be proud of me for this one. I'm going with your boy SGA. I think he's a buy as well. Specifically, I'm gonna find value here in like PSA 9s. So I'm gonna go with the Optic. There's an Optic Pink numbered to 25 that sold for $480. In my opinion, if you're getting a numbered Optic of SGA, colored Optic, numbered to 25 for under 500, I think that's a steal, especially a PSA 9, because we talked about crossovers last week.
Right.
You know, I would take that, I would crack that, and resubmit that to BGS to try getting that, the min gem, right? And then, that $480 investment you throw, actually when BGS cools down, I'd probably do that. I wouldn't pay $250. That's what they're charging now. Wait until it goes down to probably under $100.
Right.
Crack it, resubmit it, get that min gem or even the true gem potentially, and and you have a sick card for basically that $500 budget.
Nice.
That's a really good play. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny. You guys gonna be proud of me. My pick is actually MPJ.
Yes, Hyung and I, we've changed his mind about MPJ.
I know. So even though I pick SGA, I will gladly admit that I think of the two guys, obviously MPJ, I think, I mentioned it, in our comparison last week, but I do agree that MPJ has a higher ceiling. And then on the flip side, like his cards are way lower than SGA, and I think there is good opportunity here before the season starts. So I'm picking at the $500 mark, MPJ's 2018 Select Courtside card number 231 in a PSA 10. It just sold, I think, yesterday in auction for $372. So this is well under 500. Wow. MPJ Courtside SSP. I think
I love the courtside.
I think it's a big buy. MPJ just signed a max contract. I'm perplexed that MPJ would get him like the same deal as Luka and Trey, even though he's literally hasn't accomplished much yet. But that's besides the point. But it shows how much Denver believes in the kid and how much he's going to be like literally one of the center core pieces. So, that would I would think the signing of the contract being that big would give a lot of people some comfort and some confidence to put some money into MPJ. MPJ courtside card number 231 PSA 10 at $500, well under $500. I think is a great buy.
Good deal. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, my pick is, and this is going to be kind of funny because we just talked about base cards, so just throw everything out that I just said. I'm going with the 2018 Panini Select Luka Doncic Concourse Base, PSA 10, sold recently for $485.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
you
know what? If any player can, make the hobby do weird things, it's going to be Luka. And if he has a phenomenal season this year, that even a concourse base, right? At a PSA 10 level, that could definitely spike,
Yeah.
That's the Matt Damon card, right?
Yeah, that's right. The one Hyung hates, but you know what?
I don't hate it. I just think he looks like Matt Damon.
That's so weird.
In Good Will Hunting, right? We talked about that.
Yeah, I remember.
We did in a previous episode. But yeah, PSA 10, Luka Doncic, Concourse Base. Yeah, I think
love
under
that card.
$500.
Yeah,
seems like a pretty good deal to me.
I like it. I chose the Optic Luka before because this is the same thing. It was just I don't understand how cheap this is. This is Luka Doncic. Like if anybody can make card prices jump, it's Luka.
Exactly.
Right.
And we've seen it. We've seen the Prism go all the way up to 2K.
Right.
Yeah, many times. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, $750 for the Prism at 17.5, thousand population in PSA 10. Optic Luka at 4,000, and then Select at like 1,500.
Yeah, that's.
Right.
I love that Select Concourse card. I think that's a great one. Good choice, man.
So now we go up to the $1,000 level.
All right. So I'm gonna switch gears actually at the $1,000 mark, and I'm gonna go back to golf. And I'm gonna go to my man Tiger Woods because I've watched Tiger Woods prices for the last 2 years pretty close. And there's one of my favorite cards of his rookie cards is the Upper Deck promo, where it's the fist pump. It dipped below $1,000, and I think long term, if you're looking for a nice long term card, it's pops around 250. Right. I think that's a great buy under $1,000. You kind of lock it in the safe, forget about it, and then you hope Tiger Woods comes back with a vengeance, and he wins another championship, and see that price go up, right? So I think regardless, he's one of the greatest of all times, and the way he's impacted the sport and society in general. And I think Forbes was saying that he's worth now, I think, over 540 million pounds, so that's probably about 850 million US, so just under $1 billion now. Damn. So you're looking at someone who really changed the infrastructure of society and sports and entertainment. And so I really like that a lot of people are not looking at Tiger, because I know what his prices can do as well. When things get hot, I've seen his cards go from 0 to 60 really quick. So I really like the promo buy under 1,000. I think if it could retract even a bit in that $750 range, I think you're going to get a really good long-term investment.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, that's why I went pretty heavy on a Tiger card that we talked about in the podcast. But Hyung and I kind of talked about this offline. If and when Tiger comes back, whether it's in 1 year or 2 years or whenever it is, you're probably going to see a spike in the card, whichever way it goes. If he tries to come back and realize, you know what, can't do it, my leg's not cooperating, I got to retire, you're going to see a spike in his cards. If he comes back and he competes in his first ever major again, another major again, you're going to see a spike in his cards. So I think regardless of what happens in 1 or 2 years, when the conclusion of his injury is, a little bit more clear, I could see a spike in Tiger cards. So yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's a good one.
How about if he comes back and just is a shell of his former self?
Oh, it'd be amazing. Like that's what
that's what everyone wants to see, man.
I think it would be the greatest story. Like
just the comeback narrative, right?
Exactly.
His documentary was like part one, like of
right.
It wasn't even his life. It would be another new documentary of starting.
Good point.
Right?
Good point.
Well, you got the Netflix one coming up, right? That's supposed to be like F1.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the injury, he was coming from a filming, I heard, like a documentary filming. So I don't know if it's the Netflix one,
really?
But yeah. I read somewhere that he was filming with a bunch of the guys, like a documentary, and then on the way home, I guess is when the accident happened. But yeah, I think that the Netflix series could be a big one too for Tiger and for other golf cards too. All right, for $1,000. So I'm gonna play the seasonal approach here. I know that basketball is starting, and hockey is about to start, and normally you've already seen some of those cards go up. So I generally try to stay away from, even though we offered some basketball cards at 100 and 500, you're taking a bit of a gamble. But at 1,000, I'm gonna play the other way. I think baseball is going down, other than a select couple of names that might explode during the playoffs. But one of those names is Tatis. The team played awful, in the last sort of 15-game stretch, got knocked out when they were supposed to be heavy favorites to make it into the playoffs. You've seen Tatis's cards just plummet, and I think this is a great opportunity between now and somewhere in the next month and a half to buy Tatis. So it's not quite at the $1,000 mark, but this is the seasonal approach where I am watching it. I think a good one to watch for a lot of people is the 2019 paper, the flagship 410 gold numbered out of 219 PSA 10. So that card was once, $2,000 at some point in the season, went to 1750. I think there's one auction ending tonight, so we'll see what the price is. but the last couple have sort of sold right under 1,400. And I think this card in the next 2 to 4 weeks, it could be a card that gets kind of close to that $1,000 mark. It could go to 1,100. It could go to 1,050. And I think at that point, it's a buy. So I'm going to play the $1,000 waiting game. It's not quite there yet, but it's going to be a great watch list card. And Scotty B, he made a great point. The flagship paper gold numbered out of 219 or numbered out of 218, whatever the year is, that's sort of like the Prism silver of baseball. That's like the go-to sort of gold standard, no pun intended. So to get a top, one of the top end players in the game, gold, at around $1,000, I'd probably be looking myself personally. So
I'm in at 1,000 too, Johnny. Let me know.
Yeah, I'll watch for you, man.
Yeah, let me know. I'm in.
I have a gut feeling it can get there. So yeah, it's
You're
one to watch.
right about that. That I told you, it's that balance of a rarity and liquidity.
Right.
Like it's a perfect mix, and that's why that silver game works a lot, right? Especially in the market. But it's exactly the same. It's around that 2,000 print run, right, where it becomes a good supply demand monster. But there's enough out there that you get an everyday price, and it's constantly trading.
Right.
Great play, for sure. All right, for me, I'm sticking with baseball too, for the $1,000 level, and this is just a gut play for me. I don't know if it's going to turn out, but I'm going to take the gamble, and my $1,000 card is the 2013 Bowman Chrome Draft Rookie Auto of Aaron Judge, BGS 9.510. Okay. I don't know. I still believe in Aaron Judge, and I still believe he's going to be an integral part of the Yankees organization. And you know how I love players that play for big market teams and historic teams like the Yankees and Red Sox and Dodgers. But and it's fresh for us still, us Blue Jays fans. We're so close to making it into the wild card race. And if you watch the Yankees game and you're going flipping back and forth between the Red Sox game, the Yankees game, Aaron Judge hit that hard.
Right, the walk-off.
No, it wasn't a walk-off.
Oh, it wasn't a walk-off?
Oh, yeah, actually, it was a walk-off because I think it hit the pitcher and went to second, and there was a play at the plate, and Tyler Wade just was too fast. Yeah. But it was Judge who, I guess, got the Ruby to win the game 1-0. But, who knows if they'll beat the Red Sox in the wildcard game. We'll know after this airs next week. But I think the Yankees will remain competitive, and I remember Aaron Judge's this exact card going up to almost like 15, 16, 17, almost 2K at the height of, Judge mania. You remember that, like All Rise, everyone would just just be on the Judge bandwagon and simmer down enough where I like the price. I think I saw it last or currently listed for $880, which I don't think is a bad deal. And I think it could go back to that level. If he hits a few more homers. I think he had 30 plus this year, and he's definitely, has the potential of hitting 40 plus homers easily.
For sure.
He just got to stay healthy the whole season. That's the big question. But he's a monster.
So this is the Bowman first auto, you said?
Yep.
Bowman
this is the card
auto.
you want for Aaron Judge.
Right.
Yeah.
$1,000. Interesting. Nice.
I also remember when it was $99 and I didn't buy it. So
it's tough to buy it now, right?
Yeah.
No.
You're just like, you can't buy it now.
Man.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend
This is
that
when
much.
I just got into the hobby too, 2013. So it was just a couple years. No one really knew who he was.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, he's playing for the Yankees. And this is like $99 and I was like, let's split it. No one would split with me. So I'm like,
it's out of your price range.
What? I don't want to pay $50 by myself, or $100 by myself.
Yeah.
I would pay 50, but oh man,
That's good.
Out of the price range at the time.
Yeah.
Now look at us.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
even 14-year-old kids are laughing at you.
yeah. All right, great choices at all three levels. Definitely some risk involved with any of these picks, but we always say you just got to be right more times than you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think all of us here has a winning percentage to date, so that's good. We'll do the baller edition next time we do the segment, so that'll be fun. I'm just giving you guys a heads up.
Nice.
Hey, just a quick tip. You can't lose unless you sell. Just remember that. It's not a loss. Don't take the L unless you sell, right?
Yeah. Hold everything.
Hold the line, guys.
Hold the line. I like it. All right, let's move on then to our last regular weekly segment we call Pick One. This week, we're back to our regular edition of Pick One, as opposed to the Hot Takes edition we did last episode. So for those listening for the first time, the regular edition is that we pick 2 players or 2 cards or 2 sets, and we ask each other which one we'd rather invest in. So I can go first here. My 2 Pick One choices are the iconic 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle graded PSA 8 versus the iconic LeBron James exquisite rookie patch autograph card graded BGS 9. Now, the reason why I chose these 2 specific cards is that if you saw Card Point's recent post, James Park, the co-founder of Fitbit, recently got into the hobby and reportedly spent a cool $10 million for both these cards.
Jeez.
Damn.
Yeah. So major flex there. We can't afford both. I mean, we can't even afford one. But for fun, if you could just afford one of these cards, which one would you go for? And before you guys make your choice, I like these choices too because it's 2 iconic cards from different eras, right? One's a vintage classic card in the Mickey Mantle, and the other one's a modern card, but definitely soon to be a classic because of who LeBron James is. So what do you guys say?
That's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah. Do you guys know the pop on the PSA 8 mantle?
I do not.
I could look that up while you guys talk, but
yeah. Go ahead, Young.
Yeah, no, iconic card. Definitely 52 Mantle is like super iconic.
Yeah.
But I always said if there's an opportunity to buy an RPA of LeBron James, like you got to jump on it. And for me, like as much as a baseball guy that I am, I'm not saying that Mickey Mantle's overhyped, but like the card is overhyped. Like I personally think it. And I'm a big Ted Williams fan, Hank Aaron fan. So for me, it's the LeBron. I think
wow,
that card is so big time. I know because you'd think that the mantle the mantle's iconic. I get it, but I always had a thing where I always thought Mickey Mantle was a little overrated, to be honest, right? So, yeah, I'm going with LeBron James, to be honest.
Wow. That's blasphemous, Young.
I know.
Mickey Mantle overhyped.
Jeez.
The Topps.
The LeBron is numbered to 23, right?
Yeah, it's numbered to 23, yeah.
Right.
I just looked up the PSA 8. There's 35.
35. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm surprised by that. I'm pretty I think it's pretty easy for me. I'm going with the Mantle PSA 8. It's just too iconic. I think when you look at the collectors, old, new, ultra modern, art collectors, you name it. I think the Mantle and how iconic it is, if not one of the most iconic cards in all of sports card collecting. It's kind of like, it's like the Mona Lisa of sports cards. And I think it just appeals. Obviously, it doesn't appeal to your average Joe Schmo because even like a PSA 1 is out of the reach budget-wise for many people. So this is just sort of like you stare at it. Oh, that's a nice card. No one ever really thinks I'm going after this card. But if you had the opportunity to get one of these for free, I think the Mantle is one of, it's the all-time. Like I think it just appeals to literally everybody. Appreciates that card in some way, shape, or form. So to get the Mona Lisa of sports cards, I think that's my choice for myself.
Okay. This is like Bizarro World because I thought Hyung would choose Mantle and
Which is
Johnny would choose LeBron. Although you're a LeBron hater, right?
I am.
I'm not. I think he's one of the
Johnny.
greatest of all
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Hey man, you know what? I still want LeBron cards. I still recognize him as one of the greats. It's just, yeah, I can't put him at number one. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with all of your points, but I will say that the Mickey Mantle, I wonder if it's only iconic up to a certain generation, right? So this next generation of people, the younger kids, will they still want a Mickey Mantle? Like, will they appreciate the iconic status of the Topps 1952 Mickey Mantle card? I think they would more want the LeBron James RPA for sure. And I think LeBron James will continue to be relevant in culture and society even after basketball. And I think that works in his favor to increase the value of his own cards. So for me, as an investment, I'm going with LeBron RPA.
Wow.
And I love the Mickey Mantle. Like if you look at the card, the PSA 8 card that James Park reportedly bought, it's a beauty, like centered nicely,
Right.
like it's
It's
fresh.
a nice
you know,
PSA
it's,
8. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. It's very rare to see a card in that condition, like that Mantle
Exactly.
in that
Yeah.
condition. But I will say, like, I don't think personally that it'll ever lose its iconic status. Like you look
Okay.
at the Ty Cobb, you know
Sure.
that was 50 years before or whatever, and that's even iconic, right? And people know
Sure.
that card as is. But yeah, I agree with you from an investment. I was looking at it from an investment standpoint. As well, I just think that the relevancy is key. So I would, if I were going to spend my money, if I had $10 million to spend, or let's just say I had 5, I had to choose one. I would, that's what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's interesting to think about because you have to remember if you had a cool $10 million to spend, I bet, and there's probably a lot of people like this trying to buy these cards. Like they're literally,
Yeah.
they've been waiting 10 years to try and get a link, a hookup, know somebody who knows somebody who has it. It's just impossible. Like it's impossible to find it and
Right.
buy it, right? So that's why these cards command such a gigantic dollar. Because if they happen to show up, you're literally throwing the checkbook at these people, right? Like, what do you want for it? I'll pay anything. So,
Right.
yeah, the demand for both. I mean, you can't lose on either, but yeah, that's a fun one, man. Nice.
Yeah, that was a nice
1v1.
Sweet. Who's
All
next?
right. I'll keep the kind of theme going with LeBron since basketball season's coming up, and this is personally to me, it's like I would like to know, because one day I don't own a Topps Chrome LeBron. I would like to, so I would ask you guys what's the better pick in terms of from an investment standpoint. If you had, let's just say, $20K to spend, right? We're looking at a 2003 Topps Chrome LeBron PSA 10, right? Versus a 2009 Bowman Chrome Trout BGS 9.5. They go for about a little over, I'd say. Last, I think, sold for $23K, so you're in the same ballpark. But I'm looking at a play where it's, long term. I'm going to lock this in the safe and see where it takes me in 20, 30 years.
Right.
Right. I'm assuming the Trout is a lot lower population than the LeBron Chrome, right?
Yes, for sure.
Right.
The population is going to be way lower on the Trout than the LeBron.
Right. Yeah, that probably speaks to LeBron's, like, I mean, Clark, you mentioned it, like his relevance beyond basketball and his post career. Ooh, I'm gonna look like such a LeBron hater again. I swear it's not because of that. I'm picking Trout, and I picked Trout because I think when Trout is done at the end of the day, let's hope he wins a championship. But even if he doesn't, I think in a lot of people's minds, there might not even be a debate. Like he could go down as the greatest of all time, and to have the iconic card of the greatest of all time, I think that appeals to me so much. LeBron A lot of people will say he's the greatest of all time. Some of the old heads won't, and that debate is going to rage on for who knows how long, for the rest of eternity. But I think for Trout, there is no debate. I think he may go down as the greatest of all time. So for me, I am picking Trout on the 2 cards. It's a lot more rare. It's the greatest of all time in one of the major sports. So it's not an easy pick, I will admit, but I think I would go with the Trout.
All right.
Yeah, I think with this, I was going back and forth because of what I just said about LeBron, about his cultural relevance beyond basketball, and the supply will be, or the demand will be there even over time. But it's a base card.
Base game is dead.
Yeah. The base
game's
game is
dead.
Well, so we thought, right?
No, it's gonna hold value, but like I'm so nervous with like even iconic base cards because
Right.
like there's definitely a certain amount of supply, but how many more can just show up at any time? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so and when you look at the other side, Mike Trout, all the reasons you mentioned, John, one of the best baseball players to ever play the game. I think, besides this season where he was injured most of the time, I think he'll rebound, and then we'll see him pad his numbers even more than he already, than his already, Hall of Fame numbers. And hopefully he wins a World Series. So that's another way his value can even go further up. And it's an autograph card. Like I think the rarity for me kind of cements my choice for Mike Trout. So I'm going with Mike Trout as well.
All right. Yeah, I threw that out there because I think it's a realistic approach that I'm looking at it from an investment standpoint.
Right.
And exactly what you said, Clark. It's like it's a base card, and that's what kind of worries me. But on the flip side, Trout does worry me a bit. It's like
Sure.
you start to add up the injuries and say, okay,
sure.
he has to keep this up for another 10 years to be that GOAT player that we're saying. So my thing is that price already baked into his cards that we're assuming, right? So that's where I'm saying is, and that's my, like, I guess fight on the flip side is $23,000 for a Bowman, and you could say that for a base card as well. But I think LeBron is
Cemented.
personally, I think he cemented his career. I think Trout's there's still a lot of risk that really concerns me, and that risk comes with the baked, inflated price in that card right now. So if something does go the other way, I think there's a lot more risk involved in the Trout, right? So that's where I'm looking at it, and I still don't have an answer, to be honest, because this is a kind of like a real scenario that I would consider and say, okay, which one would I kind of invest in? Because these are real kind of valid points that you guys both bring. But I think on this one, I will go, with the Trout as well, just because, it's. If you think about the superfractor that sold for $3.96 million, that's the superfractor of that card. Like that's the Trout auto. This is the holy grail of, baseball. And then, it could be the same story as the Mickey Mantle, the 52 Mickey Mantle, right? It's like the hype is around that, right? So I see it the same way with this Trout, and those are my concerns, though. Is will Trout continue to do what he's doing? If he doesn't, will I see a retraction in price, right? So,
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll go with Trout, I guess, because and Clark, you said it's a base card. If it was like a refractor or something, but LeBron Chrome refractors are ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a base card. So,
what's a PSA 9 LeBron refractor? Like that could be.
I wouldn't even know, but I would say it would be
there.
around there.
Yeah.
I would say probably around there, 15, 20K, maybe more. Maybe it's 20.
Yeah, maybe it's like
25K.
50. I don't know. I'd imagine still a lot.
Yeah.
How about if it was a LeBron James Topps Chrome Refractor versus a Mike Trout Bowman Chrome X Fractor?
Say that again. You just confused me with all these refractors and
So LeBron James Topps Chrome Refractor
right.
versus a Mike Trout Bowman Chrome X
X
Fractor.
Fractor. So like
So you're removing the
what,
base
what
game
graded?
now.
Yeah, removing the base game, so there's scarcity in both.
Whatever.
What's the grade?
I guess grade doesn't
what's the
matter.
grade
Whatever
here?
is the equal value, right? Like let's say one is
So
50,
whatever.
one is
Okay.
50 grand, the other
Just
one's
the
50
card.
grand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Impromptu, pick one.
Right.
Go for it, John.
Oh shoot. I don't know, man. That's
I'm going. I'm okay. That totally changed it because I'm going with the refractor of LeBron James.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the base game and the refractors, the parallel, the sought after parallel. That's what I like. I don't like the base. I like parallels, and we're in the parallel land. So
Right.
I'm gonna stick by Bronny right there.
right.
Okay. John.
You know, I'm actually I'm gonna at the refractor point. I'm gonna flip my script, and everything I said about Trout still exists. But when you go into these older Topps Chromes, the refractors, like we talked about before, they're so tough to get, and they are just so supremely desired. Like even the PSA 9s go for like rocketed amounts, and those would become like sort of the grail. Outside of RPAs, those old Topps Chrome refractors are like the grail cards for players who had rookie cards in those eras. So at this point, I don't think the jump from the Trout Auto to the X Fractor is as big as the jump from the base to the LeBron refractor. I think that refractor is just so in high demand that from an investment, I'm gonna go with the LeBron. If you're gonna switch the question, that's a great impromptu question. But yeah,
I just really wanted to see how much Johnny hated LeBron. So I guess not that much. That's why I asked. No, I'm going with LeBron James Topps Chrome Refractor. So
Yeah.
it's a clean sweep there.
yeah,
All right.
good question, man. Good one.
So it was literally the flip side, just because of the base.
the base.
That was it.
100%.
That was it. Right.
Yeah.
That was it. So the refractor of the Topps Chrome PSA 9 goes for $30K.
30K.
So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So mine is also similar to Hyung's in that it's a bit personal. Over the last 18 and now 19th episode, you guys have fully convinced me to go all in on Juan Soto. Just looking at his numbers, just looking at his consistency, I don't think I can deny that this guy will, as long as he doesn't get injured, barring injury, has a great chance as going down as one of the all-time greats. So I'm turned into a believer. I don't own any significant Juan Soto cards, and I would like to get a couple that I could just say I could lock up in a safe and hide for the next 10 to 20 years. Problem is that Hyung mentioned it many times. Soto doesn't have any cards, right? Like he doesn't have a Bowman Chrome. His Bowman first auto, it's only the auto. Like you really have to pay like insane amount of money. Like everyone would love to have the Soto Gatorade SSP. Everyone would love to have the HMT 55 refractor, but it's only numbered out of 250. I don't know what it goes for, $5,000-$6,000. So my initial budget, and it's personal because I'm actually trying to look for this, and I'm very curious, legitimately, what you guys think. Budget of like $1,000, and I've been thinking, flagship image parallel. So I don't want the base, but I want some kind of parallel. So at around $1,000, I can maybe get the Topps Chrome Pink HMT 55, or I can get the flagship US 300 Rainbow. So sort of like the entry level, non-numbered refractor, versus for around that $1,000 mark, a numbered rookie non-licensed Soto. So we're talking Prism, Select, Optic, something like that, something that's not licensed but it's numbered, super rare. I'm going to use an example. Right now you can go on eBay and find a 2018 Chronicles Select Soto orange, numbered out of 199. I think it's like Pop 11, PSA 10. and it's buy it now for $700. So if you had $1,000 and you wanted to buy a singular Soto card and lock it up for the future, what's the better buy? Is it a Soto, entry level flagship image parallel, or is it something numbered, but not as desired, right? This is again that sort of game between desired and rarity, and and the liquidity, right?
This
we're talking.
one,
This is for long term again. So this is something that you would buy to lock up.
And we talk about licensing and everything with Fanatics, the whole deal and stuff. So for me, it's like that it doesn't matter if it's a lower numbered. I like the buy at. I would rather go the pink and rainbow foil. I think it's still rare. I think it's still rare enough that you're gonna get enough people in the game. A lot of people don't play the unlicensed game. You could. For me, I just look at how has Mike Trout's unlicensed stuff done relatively in comparison, and that will kind of give you an idea of the future of Soto's unlicensed cards too. Right. It's not saying that they haven't increased. I just feel like the bump is a lot higher on licensed products, and that's going to be a big one for me. And I really love the Topps Chrome Pink, to be honest. And I love the rainbow foil too, because that's the paper version of the parallel. You can't get any other parallel other than the rainbow foil, non-numbered that is. And the pink. Those are your only two options. The pink was, I believe, at a Target special at the time. So right. That's your only non-numbered parallel, because Soto's cards come from Topps Chrome Update, and all the parallels are numbered, right? Refractors are numbered. That's why they're so expensive, right? They're very limited. So for me, I'm going to go with the pink and the rainbow foil. I love those cards personally. I would buy them regardless. I think they're a great buy. They're a great affordable buy of Soto, essentially, because they're non-numbered. So I'm going to go with the flagship stuff over the unlicensed for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be really easy for me, so I'm going to keep it short. I don't like unlicensed stuff. So, like, personally, I know you asked, it's a personal question too, in terms of what you like. So for that reason, it's pretty simple choice for me to go with the licensed Topps product. But that being said, I think also it's just more liquid. Right. At the end of the day, you could sell it when you want to sell. More easily, I believe, than even a lower numbered unlicensed card.
Right. I think you guys have kind of validated some of my thoughts. I personally was very intrigued at the possible long-term prospect of the brands Select and Prism. Even though these couple of years they're not licensed in baseball. So it made me really think. But for me, at the end of the day, I'm a collector first and foremost. And if I'm gonna get a Soto, I thought about the two, and Hyung knows I chatted briefly with him during this week about it. At the end of the day, when I look at the cards, and no matter how rare the Select is, and it looks shiny and it looks great, I personally want to look at the like the flagship photo. Like, that's what I personally would want. So from a collector standpoint, I think if I sat there and I was looking at a card that I'm locking in a safe, like, I thought about it. I'm like, I don't think no matter how great the potential is in the Select play or a Prism play, I don't think I would be that happy versus like even just the normal pink or rainbow foils. So yeah, it's a clean sweep too. Yeah. You guys sort of validated the debate that was raging in my head, but yeah. Thanks, boys.
And just remember, like, you're in this situation, Johnny, too. You have a Vladdy in the same thing.
I do,
right?
Yes.
Exact same thing, and look how hard it is to liquidate it, and that's numbered to 35,
right?
And that's wanting your price that you kind of want. So I think you answered your own question because because you do have that situation going on, and I believe it's very, very similar to that, and I think it's just a validation to go with the pink.
Yeah. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. It's another fun show, guys. I think that's a great place to wrap. Just thanks for everyone who tunes in every Tuesday. We see the numbers, and it's amazing to see the growth week after week. So thank you
Yeah.
guys so much for listening to our podcast. We look forward to bringing you guys more value. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And check out our new Instagram page, specifically dedicated to this podcast. The handle is @CardsToTheMoon, all one word. Big shout out to Renee for managing that account for us. If you have any questions or ideas for the show, you can reach us there or at 5 Card Guys as well. Okay, that's it for this week. We'll see y'all next week. Take care. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5 Card Guys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.